she scolded, brandishing the spoon at him. "That's for after the ceremony, and don't you forget it. You can eat yourself sick on the scraps tomorrow for all I care, but you leave it alone tonight, or more than your knuckles will be hurting, I promise you." The shock-haired boy whined a half-hearted apology and started to sulk. To stave off a sullen fit, she shoved a handful of trencher slabs across the table at him and told him to go see that the minstrels were fed. Some day, spoiled brat. I wish father'd send him back to his doting mamma. Cat's more use than he is, especially when everybody's too busy to keep an eye on him. Fortunately, all Perry had to do was show up with the slabs of trencher bread, and the minstrels would see to their own feeding. Caro hadn't met a songster yet that didn't know how to help himself at a feast. The first meat course was over. Time for the vegetable pies, and the dishes straw-haired Amy had been plunging into her tub with frantic haste were done just in time. Caro sent the next lot in, laden with heavy pies and stacks of bowls, just as the remains of the venison and the poor hacked-up bits of the bread deer came in. "It's a good thing that monstrosity didn't hit the ground," she reflected soberly, snagging Perry as he slouched in behind the servers and sending him back out again with towels for the wedding guests to wipe their greasy fingers. What with Deanna's family device being the red deer and all, her people would have taken that as a bad omen for sure. There was no subtlety for this course, thank all the gods and goddesses. Not that father didn't want one. More dough sculpture, this time a rampant stag, as a testament to my darling brother's virility, no doubt. It's a good thing cook had a fit over all the nonsense that was already going to wind up being crammed into the oven. There was a momentary lull, as the last of the emptied dishes arrived and the last of the servers staggered out, and everyone in the kitchen took a moment to sag over a table or against the wall, fanning overheated faces. Caro thought longingly of the cool night air, just beyond the thick planks of the door at her back. But her father's seneschal poked his nose in the doorway, and she pushed away from the worn wood with a suppressed sigh. "Any complaints so far?" she asked him, her voice clear and carrying above the murmur of the helpers and the roar of the fire under the ovens.
"Just that the service is slow,"
Seneschal Wendar replied, mopping his bald head with his sleeve.
"Audrious teeth, child, how do you stand it in here? You could bake the next course on the counters."
Caro shrugged. "Because I don't have a choice. I'm used to it, I suppose. I've been here since before dawn. Anyway, you know I've supervised everything since before Mother died." The simple words only called up a dull ache now. That priest had been right. Damn him. Time did make sorrow fade. At least it had for her. Time and being too busy to breathe. "I'm sorry I can't do much about the service," she continued, keeping an ear cocked for the sounds of the servers returning. "There's only so much stable boys and higher swords can learn about the server's art in a couple of candle marks."
"I know that, my dear."
The seneschal, a thin, tired-looking man who had been the scribe and accountant with Rathgar's old mercenary company, laid a fatherly hand on her arm, and she resisted the urge to shrug it off.
"I think you're doing remarkably well, better than I would have, and I mean that sincerely. I can't imagine how you've managed all this with as little help as you've had."
"Because father was too tight-fisted to hire extra help for me, and too full of pride to settle for anything less than a princely wedding feast. Lord Orson Brodie consented to this marriage. Lord Orson Brodie must be shown that we are no jumped-up barbarians, even if Rathgar's daughter has to spend the entire feast in the kitchen with the hirelings." She felt her cheeks and ears flush with anger. It wasn't fair. It wasn't. Not that she really wanted to be out in the Great Hall either, showing off for potential suitors and their lord fathers. Bad enough that Rathgar never thought of her. Worse, that he'd think of her only in terms of being marriage bait. Which he would, if he ever thought past Lordan's marriage. Lordan's far more important marriage. After all, he was the male and the heir.